Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Traditional home security only alerts you after a break-in, and that's too late. SimpliSafe is changing that.
Stop. This is SimpliSafe. Police are on the way.
We don't just alert, we stop crime before it starts. SimpliSafe, plan starting around $1 a day. Save 50% on your new system with professional monitoring at simplisafe.com/SXM or with promo code SXM.
Outdoor deterrence requires a SimpliSafe Active Guard outdoor protection plan starting at $49.99 a month. Visit simplisafe.com/licenses for alarm license information. Tennessee 2012.
Let's check in on the Serta counting sheep.
Why aren't we counting anymore?
Well, the all-new Serta Perfect Sleeper has the Q4 support system that helps relieve aches and back pain.
We'll never get counted again.
Nope.
Save this Memorial Day. Shop at a retailer near you.
To get the Crime Writers on Aftershow right now, go to patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And on this episode, when black women and girls started disappearing in Newark, the police response was limited. So the victims' loved ones took matters into their own hands to catch a serial killer. We'll talk about the podcast Someone's Hunting Us from NJ.com and the Star Ledger. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of These Are Their Stories podcast, my husband and the love of my life, Mr. Umpire Diaries himself. It's Kevin Flynn. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Rebecca.
Also with us, private investigator, certified pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of the Piper Green series of cozy mysteries, Laura Bricker. Hi, Laura.
Hey, Rebecca.
And finally, all the way from Valencia, Spain, author of a city trilogy, host of Rip Current, More Like Ancient Aliens, and the podcast soon to be a major motion picture, Strange Arrivals. It's Toby Ball. Que pasa, Toby?
Buenas, Rebecca.
So, Kevin.
Yeah.
This is Thursday's program.
Yes, it is.
What's coming up on next week's show?
On Monday, we're going to talk about the Netflix show, Should I Marry a Murderer? Now, okay, I think it's better than the title promises.
I saw one of my favorite people on Twitter, Chris Evans, tweeted, "It's the whitest white thing that's ever whited."
Okay, all right. Maybe
so,
not.
We'll see.
We'll see. And then we're going to talk about the podcast from Crooked Media and Campside Media. It's called Coal Survivor.
All right. Like Soul Survivor, but coal?
But coal.
Okay.
Like black lung coal.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, Coal Survivor.
Kevin, we were taping the last show. You said the word ghost, and it reminded me of something.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys seen on TikTok or on social media the two women who are sisters who are like, their mom is like in hospice? Have you seen that?
No.
Okay, so there's these two women and they're sisters and their mom is in hospice. And their whole TikTok is that the mom asked them to go to like Walmart and get her something comfortable to wear. So apparently they went there. They just grabbed a T-shirt out of the bin. They paid for it. And then when they were in the car, they took the T-shirt out of the bag and it said, "Future Ghost."
What?
And they were laughing their asses off, as only siblings can. Yes. So
well, we all are future ghosts.
We are all future ghosts.
Some sooner than others.
That's right. Well, Toby doesn't believe in ghosts, so he's not a future ghost. Wouldn't it be amazing if Toby were the only one of us who came back as a ghost, and it was like Mr. I don't believe in anything suddenly found himself being a ghost?
Yes. That'd be very ironic.
Or if Toby were like actually kidnapped by a UFO, wouldn't that be incredible? And none of us believed him.
Yeah,
I have that coming.
Yeah, you do have it coming. Yeah, Toby, you deserve to have something like incredible and slightly paranormal happen to you.
Yeah.
You really do. You've earned it.
Yeah.
You've earned it. Yeah, he'd be the reformed cynic.
It'd be great. Yeah, if something weird would happen, and I would try and tell people, and they would think it was just a bunch of attention grabbing.
That's right. A money grab by Toby to turn his persona around. You'll be like the Blake Lively of podcasting, trying to all of a sudden be nice to the people who believe in paranormal things.
I have been trying to become the Blake Lively of podcasting.
That's right, as you should. You should be married to someone worth $400 million. Is also a big dick. You should be married to that guy.
Who owns a soccer team?
I know.
I bet you he has good seats.
You guys ready to talk about the thing we're talking about on this show?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, leading off.
Why are the police asking about Mawa? It's sinking in. Her friend hadn't texted her all weekend.
And I said, the last time I seen Mawa was on Friday when she was in school. Why, what happened? And they said she hadn't been home, she's missing.
In 2016, women of color in Newark, New Jersey began to disappear. The police response lacked urgency because some were sex workers and others were considered runaways. So friends of Mawa Doumbia set their own trap, using the missing 15-year-old social media to draw out her killer.
It was young women, not police, who did the dirty work. Sarah Butler's older sister and 2 friends catfished him. They delivered the guy right to the police.
Investigators eventually drew connections between a Jane Doe in a burned building, a murdered college student, and a prostitute who fled from an attacker who duct taped her and handcuffed her. The evidence would point them to a young, mild-mannered supermarket security guard who they accused of being a serial killer.
More of trying to get an idea of what can make this guy so angry that he would strangle women. There has to be something in his past.
The podcast Someone's Hunting Us from NJ.com and the Star Ledger recounts the search for Khalil Wheeler-Weaver, who was accused of murdering 4 girls and women and nearly killing a 5th. Host Rebecca Everett and Daysi Calavia-Robertson also explore the law enforcement inequities when the victims are Black or do sex work, as well as talk to the victims' loved ones about how they advance the investigation when authorities would not. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about plot points from Someone's Hunting Us. So if you want to remain spoiler-free, go to the estimated time code in our show notes for our thumbs up or thumbs down reviews. So Laura, I have to ask you a question. I was thinking about this the entire time I was listening to this podcast.
Yes.
Have we ever heard a story in podcasting told by 2 men who exchanged narration sentence by sentence in the podcast? Because that seems to me to be something that exclusively women journalists are either asked to do or decide to do in this medium. Do you think that format works, yes or no?
No. And the last time we heard something like this where we had 2 hosts flipping back and forth, it was that podcast. It was like Texas. It was the college students, and they were all trying to take
the
a turn.
orange tree.
Yeah, the orange tree. Yeah.
And I was like, why? So this started, and I'm like, oh my goodness, they're trading every other line in like the first, it's like one reads a line, another reads a line.
At 6:20, he turns his BMW into the brightly lit parking lot and finds a spot.
He's ready with his kill kit stashed within reach.
But right away, someone is walking toward his car.
These are people that have solid reporting chops. They've done other podcasts. I was so distracted in the beginning trying to figure out, okay, wait, which one is talking? Wait, did they just switch again? And then finally I said, you know what, Laura? They've done a really great job reporting here. Just don't even try to pay attention to who's talking, because that's going to drive me crazy if I try to figure that out throughout this entire. And then I just kind of tuned it out, and I'm like, it essentially in my brain just morphed into like one person that was talking, because I just stopped even trying to figure out when they were switching back and forth, because it was just so distracting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I also, Laura, I enjoyed the work of Rebecca and Daysi, because, right, they got some pretty, solid news gathering.
Yeah.
But you're right, the scripting wasn't perfect, and when you have dueling hosts, that format can be hit or miss. And I wouldn't say like separate them in like one does one episode, and we've had that.
I would.
Well, no, but see, they're still a reporting team.
Yeah. And
I do want them together, but in particular, and I thought like in some parts they did a good job of sort of like giving the narrative duty sort of, back and forth a little bit, but where they do the thing with this one sentence is a particular place, and it's where they're doing these imagined vignettes from the killer's point of view.
Yes.
And I can see that on the page, right? If it's in a book, it's like this, the offset paragraph at the beginning of the chapter, it's all in italics, right? Like you can imagine that from your book. But I don't know if that particular part translated well to the podcast, either how it was even conceived or whether the way it was executed. Maybe it's a nit to pick there, but you're right. Like that thing where you're playing ping pong with lines, that doesn't usually work.
No, it sounds like a student podcast. Honestly, it does. It sounds like we both want credit for this project So we both have to contribute our voices to it 50-50 so they'll know we work together as a team. That completely didn't work for me. It really, I think to me, took some of the shine off of the reporting and made it difficult to listen to. What do you think, Toby? What do you think about like the formatics and the delivery here of this show?
Yeah, and I feel kind of bad that this is like the first thing we talk about because I think it's basically pretty good. I don't want people to like listen to this and then turn it off and not listen to that podcast. But I think there are things that diminish it, and it just feels like there's no need for it, right? And you guys talked about it with the switching off who's talking. That didn't like I think I kind of started where Laura was, where it started, and I was like, all right, I just gotta not pay attention to who's talking because it doesn't really matter who's talking. It's not like one of them is covering one thing and one of them is covering the other. They're both covering the whole story. They occasionally had these novelistic like kind of descriptions that Kevin was talking about, which again, I think it just doesn't really work. I mean, it just feels like it's from a different kind of podcast.
The tools of his craft lovingly assembled for a night just like this one.
He's been planning this, like he plans everything. It's finally happening. Death has come to Newark.
And then there's like this scripted banter that kind of happens every once in a while.
On a weeknight about a year ago, I kissed my kids goodnight and ran off to meet Rebecca at an IHOP about an hour away.
It's off the Jersey Turnpike and perfect since it's halfway between our houses. But sadly, we weren't there for pancakes.
Which sucks because I love breakfast for dinner.
Yeah, no. Our mission for the night?
To charm a charmer.
That's really hard to pull off. I
like
think.
the I like pancakes for dinner kind of moment, kind of situation or whatever. Yeah.
And it seemed like there was like one thing of that per episode or something like that. I mean, I wasn't really paying that close attention to it, but when they came up, it's like, maybe not do this because they both come across as like likable and earnest and, all these things. I mean, I didn't need to hear them sort of pretend to talk to each other off the cuff to like them as hosts. Those were unfortunate choices because I think the story itself and the reporting we're starting. If you don't have to do any of that stuff, you can just kind of just tell it straight and it would be fine.
I was curious about the editing process in this, whether or not there was like a senior editor sort of talking them through these decisions. And again, I also like these reporters very much, and there's some very good stuff here in this podcast. And it's not great to always start on the negative, but I just kind of it's so on its face. I wanted to get out of the way.
Yep.
The one part of the podcast that really stuck out to me as being a terrible decision was this protracted episode about them trying to get an interview with the guy in prison. And they are reading their sort of bantery sounding emails that they sent, and then they're saying that they're embarrassed that they had to put on this like flirty voice to to try to lure him.
Hi Khalil, how are you? We're reaching out to you one last time because we're recording the final episode of the podcast and we wanted to give you a chance to talk to us.
Yeah, we tried for a while to talk to you, but we've seen all the evidence from the trial now, and that's what we have to go on, is that evidence from the trial. So that's what we're going to be reporting.
Now, we know you don't want that, and we know that you've always said that you're innocent. So if there's anything at all you want to say to us, this is your chance.
It goes on and on and on and back and forth, and we hear their voice memos, and their voice memos, honestly, like, I understand how you try to get people to trust you, and I understand how you get people to talk to you. But that contrasted with their complete and total disgust by him that they felt the need to insert every single, it's like, remember, he's a serial killer. And so this is sort of, that sort of bouncing back and forth between hearing how they were trying to lure him to an interview, but then also acknowledging that he's disgusting. It's like they dehumanized him in a way that, I understand that's for some people. It's not for me. The dehumanization of bad people is not for me. But that contrasted with the light and bubbly attempts to get interviews and then ultimately not getting the interview. It's like, why were we put through this as listeners if we weren't able to get that and hear his voice in the podcast? I don't know, Laura, what do you think about that? Because Toby described some of the writing as novelistic as well. And you also had a note about that.
Yeah. Well, I think where I thought it was kind of novelistic was when they were describing what it was like in his head when he was out driving around and his plan to kill people. The hard part about that was that, like, the dehumanizing, and, I'm not by any account saying like, geez, he's a super great guy. But it's like when they're like, well, we want you to like share your side of the story and have your say. But the way that was portrayed to him conflicted with all the other information that we had been presented. And I'm going to say I liked up front when they were talking about their opinions of certain things and putting that in there, because I think that gives a more authentic view into who you are as hosts and where you're coming from, because none of us come into something without our own opinions. And I appreciate when we put some of that out there. But in that case, it was like, okay, we hate this guy, but now also at the same time, we're like, oh, we want you to tell your side of the story. And it was just, we're going to wait. I'm going to wait for her to get here so that we can listen to it together.
Yeah. Well, and also the use of the word the killer instead of using his name and over. And I understand that there's this whole philosophy around not repeating bad guys' names. And I'm like, but that's also who did it, you know? That's also like, that's the person you're reporting on right now. That's tough. All right, let's move on. So, Kevin, I know that you are a fan of John Douglas's book, right? Mindhunter. Yeah. And you are more interested in like profiling than I am, and you know more as a result about profiles of serial killers than I do. So tell me why it is that this guy Khalil doesn't fit that typical profile.
Okay, well, statistically, serial killers hunt within their own race, right? So when white killers look for white victims, for example, they usually target sex workers on the margins, unlikely to be missed. And one of the things we find out here with a black serial killer, which statistically is rare, but not, but you know, the numbers are not zero. When they target a black victim, they are also advantaged not only because if it's a sex worker, she is on the margins and less likely to be missed, but as we see here, he's advantaged because the victim is black. And the police don't take that victim seriously, right? Or the fact that, you know, well, they're probably a runaway. Or again, you know, how about this whole scene where this woman is trying to report a rape? She's got handcuffs and fucking duct tape on her.
Yeah.
What injuries do you have?
Look at my face from the duct tape.
From the what?
From the duct tape, my face.
When did he duct tape you? In the car?
In the car.
So you let him duct tape you, or what happened?
Let him? Again, that's a law enforcement officer speaking to a victim.
That same officer, Elizabeth Police Officer Billy Lee, even admitted it.
That made me so pissed off.
Yeah, you know, or it's like, well, you're a sex worker, and so maybe he just didn't pay you. And what else does she got to present with? A fucking photograph of the guy too? I mean, that's part of the thing there. But I mean, like, one of the most interesting things about Wheeler-Weaver is like sort of how far outside the profile of a serial killer he is. It's his race and his age just don't match the historical profile of the sadomasochistic killer. No. Right? But do you remember when we watched the dramatization of Mindhunter? And
sure
I think
do.
It was in season 2 where they're talking to Ed, who was...
Ed Kemper.
Ed Kemper, yeah. As I remember him, the neck fucker.
Yeah.
And like he was just like really super helpful. And he made the point that like, okay, you're profiling, you've got these... what serial killers do, but he points out that's all based on the ones you've caught.
Right, the white ones.
Also the white ones, right?
Yeah.
But also the implication is there may be many other types.
Right.
Right? If you're going to say, oh, well, they all like, you know, wet the bed and tortured animals as children.
And were adopted.
Yeah, or something like that, you know, then if you think that that's the only profile of a serial killer, guys, then you might be missing out on others here. In particular, the fact that he was doing this when he was so young.
Yeah.
As far as serial killers go, like he's 20, 21 years old. A lot of them don't start till they're in their late 20s or 30s or whatever. Mm-hmm. So he's an interesting specimen, right? And I think they try to get into some of that and figure out, like, well, this guy's he's a security guard at ShopRite, you know? So, like, how does he become a serial killer? I don't think there are answers to that, but I do appreciate that they tried to get to there because, like I said, he's an interesting specimen from a criminology and victimology point of view.
Yeah.
I thought one of the sort of things they don't really talk about, but I think one of the implications of all this is that there may very well be more black serial killers, and it's just the police haven't put in the time to make those connections.
Yeah, well, that's the FBI hasn't either. The Behavioral Analysis Unit hasn't either. I mean, the reason why the profile is mid-30s, white, whatever, again, is because those are the people they studied. And they've decided that serial killers have to have a psychosexual motivation, which might not always be the motivation. They've created this very narrow definition.
That's not the profile of, like, Son of Sam.
Right.
Right? There are certain, you know, Jeffrey Dahmer is very different than, like, a Son of Sam or whatever like that. And that's, you know, that's one of the things that like fascinates us about serial killers, but we're fascinated by all sorts of other things, and we present that to you on Patreon.
Oh, we're in the business section.
Oh, yes.
Nice transition, Kevin. Smooth.
Yeah, we can talk
From
about
serial killers to Patreon. Good job.
Yeah, okay.
Good job.
Right, you don't have to, be Ed Kemper. Although, do you remember the statistic of the fun fact about Ed Kemper is that he would read audiobooks?
Yeah.
He was an audiobook narrator.
Yes.
And when we mentioned that, we lost our sponsorship with Audible.
No, we didn't.
No, but it just kind of veered off
Didn't
after
help.
that.
Yes.
It didn't help. It didn't help. When we said, hey, the neck fucker used to read books.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
He was a neck fucker. That was in the show.
That was in the show.
They used that word in the show.
Yeah.
God. All those
but you can support us at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media. You get all sorts of exclusive content, including the Crime Writers on Aftershow, Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast, our advice podcast, Married with Podcast, the True Crime podcast, Something's Off, and Laura Bricker's Leave It to Bricker podcast. Also, if you join us at the Deep Diver level, you get to be an official sponsor of Toby Ball's Deep Dive. The next book that Toby is talking about, and I think by now it's probably in your feeds, is Chaos. We also have an Amazon storefront where you can see some of our favorite things. Rebecca, what are this week's Amazon recommendations?
Well, Kevin, I didn't buy anything on Amazon this week.
What?
But I did create a very voluminous Amazon wish list, which we have linked to our Something's Off channels. As people who follow YouTubers know, that's a thing. And on my wish list is these really fuzzy Everfoam women's fuzzy slippers. Aren't those cute?
Those are cute.
I do need slippers, and these are very cute, so I really like these. So they're on my wish list.
Now, we also have at our Amazon storefront Toby Ball's Deep Cut recommendations, inspired by our listeners. Toby, what are this week's recommendations?
How about this one? Why don't you see if you can see what they're trying to push here? Gel nail strips, no UV, red, UV-free, long-lasting polish stickers. Contains
I know what those are.
22 wraps.
You thought it was for Polish people.
It's Polish people
stickers.
hate UV nail strips.
I know what those are. Those are press-on nail little tabs.
Why don't you want UV?
Because UV is what they do for gel manicures, which is what I get, which is not good for you and banned in Europe. So, because you not only use the chemicals bad, but also the light itself could give you cancer. But I am 52 years old, and this shit works on me, so that's what I get. But the press-on nails, my friend Molly uses those. She loves them.
Unfortunately, I can't get UV nail treatments because I live in Europe. All right.
You can't. You can't.
But you probably could get Polish nails.
Oh, my nails
Polish nails.
They look
you can't throw a stick without
it's
Polish
the
nails.
Glunky brand.
Yeah.
The Wisniewski nails.
7 blue, 2-tier large fruit basket for kitchen counter with 2 mobile banana hangers.
Ooh.
2 mobile banana hangers. They move.
I love a mobile banana hanger.
I thought you were going to say banana hammock.
I know. Well,
when Kevin runs, he is also a mobile banana hanger.
But I'm not even done. There's more. 2026 Pro Detachable Metal Fruit Bowl with wooden handle fruit.
I wonder if the person who keeps buying stuff for their new condo is the one who bought that too.
You can't go through life without a banana hanger.
A mobile banana.
Not
hanger.
just one. They got 2 mobile banana hangers.
Because if you're going to go visit friends and you want to bring your bananas, you have to have a hanger, but it also must be mobile.
Yeah, you got to be able to take it on the road.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. Fantastic. You can shop us first when you go to amazon.com/shop/Crime Writers On. We earn commissions on qualified purchases.
Kevin, before we end this business section,
yes,
do we have any Patreon patron saints of the week this week?
Our Patreon patron saints are
when you do that,
Ashley Sheldon and Mem Bossard. Bless you.
Ashley and Mem, thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon. Your contributions there really makes us able to do this podcast, and we are thrilled to be able to make all that additional content there, including the after show, the audio version of Something's Off, Laura's podcast, Toby's podcast, and of course, Married with Podcast. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Kevin, does thus end our business section?
Thus ends the business section.
Can you use that voice more often, please? Like in our home life?
You mean when I'm using my banana hook, banana hanger, whatever it is.
Your mobile banana
Your
hanger.
mobile banana hanger?
My mobile banana hanger.
All right, thus ends the business section. Fade that music out, Kevin. So, Kevin, who's our sponsor for this program?
We're brought to you by Quince.
Ooh.
Hey, if you're trying to be more intentional about what you wear day to day, Quince can help you with that. They've got pieces that feel easy, comfortable, and still put together, just like the sweater that Rebecca's wearing.
That's right. My sweater right now that I'm wearing is the oversized cashmere crew in navy and white stripe. It's nice and light, but warm enough for a breezy day. Perfect for spring, very like nautical inspired. I love this sweater so much.
Oh, you got it from Quince?
I did.
And what else do you get from Quince, Rebecca?
You can get jewelry from Quince.
And you have done that?
Yes, I have. You can get housewares from Quince, rugs, couches, anything you want. Gold bars, all of it.
We haven't done a couch or a gold bar yet.
Right.
But Quince has a whole bunch of stuff. They work directly with ethical factories to cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup.
Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/crime for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too, eh?
Hey!
That's quince.com/crime for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/crime.
Crime.
Traditional home security only alerts you after a break-in, and that's too late. Simply Safe is changing that.
Stop. This is Simply Safe. Police are on the way.
We don't just alert, we stop crime before it starts. Simply Safe, plan starting around $1 a day. Save 50% on your new system with professional monitoring at simplysafe.com/SXM or with promo code SXM.
Outdoor deterrence requires a Simply Safe Active Guard outdoor protection plan starting at $49.99 a month. Visit simplysafe.com/licenses for alarm license information. Tennessee 2012.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today and let us surprise you.
Parents, have you heard your kids say, "I'm not a math kid"? Well, with Mathnasium, every kid can be a math kid. They customize their math instructions so kids who are struggling are able to catch up and get ahead. And advanced kids are challenged to reach higher. Mathnasium makes math fun, so kids learn to love it. Parents say that Mathnasium has not only improved their kids' grades, it's given them a new level of confidence in math and in school overall. Visit mathnasium.com to find a location near you.
So, Laura, this is clearly a podcast that's looking at an issue that needs to be looked at. We've covered other content sort of in this vein before, but this kind of is the point of this. I mean, at the end, Rebecca actually finds out that she could have reported on a story that she didn't report on because she had been the reporter that added Mattawa's name to NJ.com and the Star Ledger's database of missing people, and then she just forgot about it. So how do you think the podcast does at handling that?
You know, that was one of the things I appreciated about this podcast going in is when we have something that we can look at that's, you know, a breakdown in that criminal justice system. And in this situation, it's the issue of missing Black women. And we've talked about this when we've listened to Connie Walker's podcasts and missing and murdered Indigenous women. And here we're taking that same sort of lens to missing Black women. And, you know, a lot of times, you know, we're hearing the police kind of overlook that. Oh, like Kevin was saying before, the woman that escaped, which was the most rage-inducing part of this whole thing for me, they don't believe her because she probably did it to herself. She probably deserved it. Nobody's going to stand up for certain segments of the population. And so I appreciated that there was a focus on that in this and, you know, trying to sort of show, okay, these are actual people. And here's also where the breakdown in actually investigating happened to the point that the friends of one of these victims actually take matters into their own hands and, you know, essentially catfish this guy and lure him to Panera. And, you know, I think when citizens have to step in because cases aren't being taken seriously, and there's a common denominator here where you have victims who are all Black, I mean, that's something it's important to bring out. And I hope that the microscope on this in this podcast will kind of, you know, put some people on notice like, hey, you know what? This isn't the sort of thing that we can just not pay attention to. You know, anybody that is a victim in a serious crime like this deserves the same resources and attention. So the background of our second host, Daysi, like she does a lot of work. She does columns about communities of color in New Jersey. She has this, I was actually pretty impressed. She had like a whole list of things she was doing, a newsletter that is weekly that's going out, and she's really on top of this. So I think these two reporters were uniquely positioned to tell this story and already had credibility within the communities that they're seeking to really highlight how we're not treated fairly in this situation.
Right. A theme of this, though, Toby, also is who is heard and who isn't heard, right? How do you think the podcast handles that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they did an excellent job. I mean, I think it's right out there, and they have examples, including stuff on tape, of law enforcement dismissing these complaints. And Kevin was talking before about, a woman's got duct tape and handcuffs, and the guy's like, oh, well, you're trying to rip off that guy, you're trying to get $60, he's trying to kill you, Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of some of those medical things we've listened to, where it's like institutions tend to listen to some people, not listen to others. And in this case, the justice system really doesn't seem too concerned about it until it's a young woman who's sort of, I guess, prominent within her community or whatever, and that they kind of take that a little bit differently. But it is sort of this thing where if it's a sex worker, somebody who has a history of being a runaway, or somebody who is suspected of having a history of being a runaway, it doesn't even have to be true. Like, there's all these reasons not to pay attention, right? And they take them.
They had this passing remark, which I thought was actually super insightful, because race obviously plays a big role in what happened here and throughout law enforcement, but also a not insignificant factor for these individual officers is being jaded. Now, I don't know what you can do about a 25-year-old coming into the police academy. Like, stop being racist. Like, that is super complicated. I don't have the answer to that.
I think you just answered it, Kevin. That should be the curriculum.
Yeah, okay, maybe you don't got whatever, But as far as like somebody who, is on the job, like all those cops that they ended up talking to, they asked about their protocols, and they're like, yeah, this is the way it should go. It's like, why didn't it go that way? Race is a factor, but also very clearly they're jaded. They've seen, again, a sex worker, well, it must be like this. You don't take it at face value anymore because you've seen certain things over and over again. Now, do some of them have reason to be jaded about certain things? Probably. I don't know. I haven't walked a beat or whatever. But that is also a factor that I think is addressable. Probably more so than like, someone's dark, dark heart. I feel like there's got to be a way you can protect and serve and have a vibrant police force without just being, well, fuck it.
I think that some of the work in this podcast, some of what we heard in the podcast reminded me of the book Lost Girls by Bob Kolker. Because there's a lot of acknowledgement of different types of sex work and talking to people who do it and talking about how it's stigmatized. And there was one little passage that I loved, which they talked about how if you're black, your black family and your daughter goes missing, you have to point out all of her positive attributes. Like, she's a star athlete, she's a this, she's a that. And, white people just have to put a picture out there, like find this person, and it becomes big news, right? And you never hear of somebody being like with their, white missing daughter, like, oh, she was pretty average, like a C student, whatever. Yeah. I mean, most people are average. Most human beings walking around the world are just average ass people. We are not perfect. We are not worthy of having an opera written about us, and we are all
She
people.
didn't light up a room.
Exactly.
She lit up half a room.
Exactly. So I thought that was a really interesting passage, just talking about having to do that. And Bob Kolker, I would really recommend anyone who hasn't read that book. There's been plenty of media about it. It's about the Long Island serial killer case. There's been plenty of media about the case and Rex Heuermann and so forth, but the book is truly through the perspectives of the families of the women who were murdered. And it talks about sex work in a really smart and in-depth way. And does a great job destigmatizing the work, but it also does a great job explaining how it works, why folks are doing it. I mean, as we heard from one source in this podcast who I loved, sex work can mean like 100 different things. It can mean so many different things. Like, not all people who do sex work are the same. I thought that was handled really, really well. Toby, you had a note about that as well.
Yeah, it's funny that I didn't put it in my note, but you mentioned Bob Kolker, and I was going to say the same thing, and that's certainly high praise. But yeah, I mean, they really, there's a spectrum, including a young woman who's just in college, and Khalil gets in touch with her, and it's just, I think it starts off with him asking her out, and she says no. He says, "What if I pay you?" And she's first like, no, and then she's like, "Oh, how much?" Like, that is like the furthest end of the spectrum of that. It's like this sort of novel thing that comes up, and it's from that all the way to, that woman who was handcuffed and duct taped. There's a couple of, I guess, girls at the time who had very strict parents and became strippers because it was like sort of a source of freedom for them. Mm-hmm. So you get these another one who's working their way through Rutgers by doing sex work. So it's not this really homogenous thing. There's like all these different things that are going on. And he seemed to intersect with it at different points, So I think it probably says something about that community too, that these are some of the outlets that people have.
In the U.S., there's a break-in every 26 seconds. But when intruders step near, Simply Safe Home Security steps up.
Stop. This is Simply Safe. Police are on the way.
Using AI alerts, U.S.-based live agents help deter break-ins. Simply Safe, no long-term contracts. Save 50% on your new system with professional monitoring at simplysafe.com/SXM or with promo code SXM.
Outdoor deterrence requires a Simply Safe Active Guard outdoor protection plan starting at $49.99 a month. Visit simplysafe.com/licenses for alarm license information. Tennessee 2012.
Parents, have you heard your kids say, "I'm not a math kid"? Well, with Mathnasium, every kid can be a math kid. They customize their math instructions so kids who are struggling are able to catch up and get ahead. And advanced kids are challenged to reach higher. Mathnasium makes math fun, so kids learn to love it. Parents say that Mathnasium has not only improved their kids' grades, it's given them a new level of confidence in math and in school overall. Visit mathnasium.com to find a location near you.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today, and let us surprise you.
A Beauty-Rest mattress gives you unparalleled motion separation, isolating movement with pocketed coil technology, while providing individualized support. Save during our Memorial Day sale at a retailer near you.
All right, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know, should they check out the podcast, Someone's Hunting Us, from the Star Ledger and NJ.com. Laura Bricker, thumbs up or thumbs down for this podcast?
Yeah, I'm going to go thumbs up with this podcast. I had one issue with the narrative storytelling decisions in terms of how hosts were sharing lines. But other than that, that's like my one sort of thing with this where I was like, I think this was great in-depth reporting. It was, retelling and re-reporting of a story that has already, played out and a case that has already resolved, but shining a light on areas of marginalized victims and, Black women in particular that, have not been taken seriously as they should be by some that were investigating. And I think, we had two very solid journalists here who have some really good reporting chops and have done other podcasts leading into this. If you haven't, go check out their website. They have really great bonus content on the website that is a companion to the podcast. And that was, something, it was also really well done. So, I think this was, again, the serial killer that you've never heard of. We heard that tagline a lot. The one thing I would have liked to hear a little bit more about was some more of the psychology of this particular killer, because he was a particularly unique in the way that he came to this, and you can hear all about that in the podcast. But overall, I think this is a solidly reported podcast put out by a journalistic outlet. And, there was a few things I would have done differently, but overall, I think it really told the story well and had all the right voices in there. So it is a thumbs up.
Toby Ball, thumbs up or thumbs down for Someone's Hunting Us?
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting one because I think, for the content and reporting and stuff, like it's a strong thumbs up. It's like an A. And then for the actual podcast execution, I feel like in some ways it's maybe more of a B-. And I think they just did some things which I think kind of undercut, I don't know if it's the gravitas or something or just the professionalism of the podcast, but it is, it's a little bit unusual that there's kind of that disparity between the quality of sort of the story and then the quality of the way it's presented in some ways. So, I'm still a thumbs up, but I'm not like the enthusiastic thumbs up. If it had been executed as well as it was reported and as sort of as important as the story is, not just for like what actually happens in it, but for sort of what it sort of thematically exposes, I guess, I thought was really interesting and kind of important to hear, I think. So anyway, yeah, it's a thumbs up, but it would have been with a few changes to the way it was presented, I would have been a bigger thumbs up.
All right, Kevin Flynn.
Yeah, for me, I'm a thumbs up. I'm a mild thumbs up. This is a solid podcast. I mean, I'm going to give our reviews a thumb sideways because I think we started off with all the stuff that we didn't like and then built up to the stuff that we did.
That's our job.
That is our job. I would have liked to have presented it a little better. Presenting podcasts is important, and I think the better parts of this podcast have to do with the personal profiles and the larger issues beyond the identity of the serial killer. But I also wanted to know even more about what made him tick. I thought that, him in particular, I thought that was interesting. The storytelling isn't always propulsive, but it does move along. It did get bogged down in some places, and like a crime junkie or a murderino is probably not going to find this entertaining. But it's good local mainstream outlet. It's good for them to focus on this kind of story. They do it well with really good news gathering and a pair of reporters that you really want to root for here. So overall, yeah, this is worth the listen. So mild thumbs up for me for Someone's Hunting Us.
I'm a thumb sideways on this podcast. It's not lost on me that at the beginning of every episode, journalist Rebecca Everett has to read a promotion for an AI newsletter generated by her outlet, which I found to be so depressing in some ways, but it really speaks to what news outlets are investing in and what they're not investing in. And I felt like this podcast was undermined by a lack of investment in it by the outlet itself. I really think it could have used a sharp edit. It could have been very good if it had a sharp edit. It could have been propulsive, and it could have been, for lack of a better word, entertaining, which to me means, again, if you want to play the next episode. One thing I talked about in the review was sort of having too much of this like lightness and then contrasted with the dehumanization of the perpetrator in this. I would recommend that, and I hate to be self-promotional, but I didn't actually work with them much on this podcast, but 13th Step is a podcast made by my outlet that features a very dynamic and warm and, sometimes very lighthearted reporting style on a very dark topic. So I know it can be done. I think we heard the same thing with the Larry Nassar podcast. What was that thing called? Believed, yes. And actually, that was the same editor who worked on those two things, Believed and 13th Step, Allison McAdam. So it is possible to have your personality be intact and also talk about a serious and dark subject matter. And that takes investment in an editor who knows how to edit for audio, and that is their job. And I really kind of get the sense, and I could be wrong, that perhaps this isn't the top priority for NJ.com or Star Ledger. It doesn't sound like it is. And the reporters are so good that they should work harder to make something that will be a big hit and that will make this outlet a lot of money, so that they don't need to make their reporters promote an AI newsletter. Because that, it deserves investment. And these two reporters deserve investment, and they didn't get it on this, in my opinion. So what could have been a great podcast ended up being a thumb sideways for me for this one. All right, that's going to do it for us. But before we go, Laura Bricker, do we have a cat of the week this week?
We do have a cat of the week. Hold on. My own cat was being a total pain in the butt there during our...
Saw that crawling all over you, yeah.
Rocky Flintstone has been having some serious...
So needy.
He's super needy. He's being a pain. So our cat of the week this week, it comes to us from one of our longtime listeners, Jeff Lassiter.
Jeff!
Jeff, who did the amazing picture of all of us that
right there in our studio.
In my house. You guys haven't. Jeff says, and it's fitting that my orange male cat is sitting here behind me, Rocky Flintstone, because Jeff got an orange male cat.
Love that.
Well, meet my new son. I work in a no-kill shelter in Iowa. I made the mistake of letting this lug be our office cat last week, and we fell in love, and I adopted him as a birthday present to myself. Anyway, meet Jabba. He goes home with me on Monday. He's my forever cat of the week, and I guess I'm into orange cats now, like Laura.
Yeah,
Yes.
love that. Hi, Jeff.
Hi,
We love
Jeff.
you, man.
Yeah,
I'll never
so-
forget Jeff's story about getting run over on a bicycle by John Cusack.
Oh, yeah. That was in
Yeah.
Chicago. He told us that story, right?
Yeah. I mean, it might have been bullshit. I don't know, Jeff, but I'm going to assume that that's a really good story.
I'm going to assume that too.
Yep.
All right, Laura Bricker, folks want to reach out to you and submit any kind of animal to be cat of the week. How can they find you online?
You can find me at Laura Bricker on Instagram and Blue Sky.
Of course, you can also submit that in our Facebook group, which you should join, or you can send us an email at crimewriterson@gmail.com. Toby Ball, how can you be found online if folks want to say hi?
At TobyBall603 on Instagram.
What about you, Kevin?
I'm at Kevin P. Flynn.
You can follow me everywhere, X, Instagram, all of it at Reb Lavoie. But mostly, again, join our Facebook group. It's awesome, and there's a lot of like-minded folks like you who are smart and witty and kind to each other. It's a great, great group. Get everything we make on Patreon, including ad-free versions of this show at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia. Our theme song was composed and performed by Tyler Gibbons, and the EP of this show is Kevin. This show was recorded in the Caitlin Rogers Project Studio, also known as Studio C, the closet in our New Hampshire basement, where we also try to pronounce it as NARC.
Narc?
NARC.
Narc?
NARC.
Narc. Narc.
NARC. NARC.
Narc?
NARC.
Narc.
On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you later.
Like, on the... Hold on a second. I can't find my note on this. What was it? Race is important. This one?
The bottom.
This one. No.
It's right there.
There. Okay, I'm sorry. Everything I didn't order.
I did ask you a question from one of your notes.
Yes,
just
I
don't
know,
always-
and I know. I remember writing it, but I'm like, why isn't it with this other thing? It's okay. I have to edit this, so...
Also with us, private investigator. Sorry, I got something in my teeth. Also with us, private. Oh. All right. You know what? Fuck all this.
You're not going to introduce us? Is that what you're saying?
I'm also. Hold on 1 second.
Partners in Crime Media.
Traditional home security only alerts you after a break-in, and that's too late. Simply Safe is changing that.
Stop. This is Simply Safe. Police are on the way.
We don't just alert, we stop crime before it starts. Simply Safe, plans starting around $1 a day. Save 50% on your new system with professional monitoring at simplysafe.com/SXM or with promo code SXM.
Outdoor deterrence requires a Simply Safe Active Guard outdoor protection plan starting at $49.99 a month. Visit simplysafe.com/licenses for alarm license information. Tennessee 2012.